So next we have is Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Friends, when we were discussing about this issue of Russia and Ukraine, in the very first video, I remember on 1st or 2nd January, I believe, I discussed and I referred this Nord Stream 2 pipeline. The context is Russia is basically has amassed its army personnel on the borders of eastern borders of Ukraine, where Russia and Ukraine in a kind of tussle, because Ukraine, being an earlier member of Soviet bloc, got disintegrated after the disintegration of this Soviet bloc in 1991, 91, 92. During these years, they got separated, and Ukraine after that started moving towards the European Union institutions, members, blocs, defense groups like NATO. This thing has always been a scope of tussle between the Russian Federation or present Russia and the European Union nation. And the bitterness in the entire complex scene has just added because the influence of United States and open backing of USA to Ukraine is giving an issue. In this manner, the Eastern Bloc countries like Latvia, Lithuania, Belarus, Ukraine, Poland, they all are actually against Russia. And many of them are members of NATO already. Like Lithuania is a member of NATO, but Ukraine is not a member of NATO. But Russia has this suspicion that Ukraine might join NATO, and that will bring the NATO forces absolutely and officially or gazettedly close to the Russian border, Russian western border. So this is the entire issue, and countries like Latvia are saying that we will not support Russia in any manner, and we will block all the trades and facilities for Russia if they are passing through our lands and making use of our borders and everything else. So if you see that this is the Nord Stream, which is actually started from Viborg to Greifswald. Let's say if I'm pronouncing these words correctly, because one in Russian, one in German, but for the matter, being an Indian and like I can demand the remedy in this manner, Greifswald and Viborg, these 2 points are the connecting dots for the Nord Stream pipeline, because Russia is an exporter of or supplier of natural gas to the European states, especially to the western states, and this Nord Stream pipeline is a big invested project between Russia and Germany, and that's how it is going. And if you can see that this is basically the exclusive economic zone or sometimes the territorial water of the countries of earlier Soviet bloc, hence this is the issue. So let's just read about this. So if you have not watched that video, please go back and watch this video so that you can have a holistic perspective over the issue. Now, Germany is ready to discuss halting the Nord Stream 2 pipeline should Russia attack Ukraine, because Germany cannot afford losing European Union, because Germany is a great economy for the matter, largest economy at present, especially when all the major economies of Europe are in a glitch, in a low. So Germany do not want to lose their trade perspective, trade borders, trade neighbors, and given its geographical location, it would never like to go against the European Union combined or collective membership. Chancellor Olaf Scholz said, responding to increasing domestic and international pressure amid a Russian military build-up on Ukraine's border, especially on just a second. Near the Donbass region. What? Nord Stream 2 pipeline involves a direct supply of natural gas under the Baltic Sea from the Russian city of Ust-Luga to German city of Lubmin, avoiding transit through Ukraine and other European countries. So basically the land is not used. because Russia very well understand that these countries can go totally against Russia anytime. The Ukrainian authority has called the project a dangerous geopolitical weapon. There is also strong opposition from the United States and most of European countries except for Austria, Germany, Hungary and Netherlands. No need to remember who is supporting or who is not. Their concern is that once operational, the project would render more leverage and bargaining power to Russia while dealing with Europe and its energy market. So it's basically to put a halt on bargaining power of Russia. Simply. Energy security dilemma for Germany. According to data from 2015, Germany imported about 40% of natural gas from Russia. 40%. 40%. So you can see the sensitivity of this trade. 29% from the Netherlands, 34% from the Norway, with only around 10% from Germany's own gas fields. So it means Germany's 90% requirements are dependent on imports of gas. And here Russia is the largest exporter of natural gas to Germany. Now, according to a media report, about a quarter of Germany's electricity now comes from coal. About which one? Quarter. So that means 25% from coal. Another quarter from renewables. 25% from renewables. 16% from natural gas. 16% from natural gas. And 11% from nuclear energy. Such a massive energy. Nuclear energy. So you can see that 16% of this natural gas ka largest exporter is Russia. So Russia can be there in the bargaining situation according to Ukraine and other blocs or other countries who are thinking that Russia should stay away from the internal countries' trade so that it remains at bay. The dispute over Nord Stream 2 takes place at a time when Germany has set out a plan to shut down its nuclear and coal power plants. Because this coal power plant, they have this goals of giving up the sources of energy that are adding to carbon emission to the atmosphere. Because all these countries are at the initiatives of saving the countries from these atmospheric issues with an objective from gradually moving towards renewable sources of energy. Baltic Sea. So since we have this Baltic Sea reference, so let's see what are the Baltic Sea and geographical issues and geographical positions. Baltic Sea is an arm of the North Atlantic Ocean. Yes, because here it is basically this entire part is Atlantic Sea, and this is the one arm which is going inside these land areas, becoming small bays and areas, and separates the Scandinavian peninsula from the rest of continental Europe. This is the Scandinavian region. Scandinavian region from the rest of the Europe. The largest expanse of brackish water in the world, the semi-enclosed and relatively shallow Baltic Sea is of great interest to scientists. Largest expanse of brackish water. So Baltic Sea is the largest brackish water expansion in the world. Although the great influx of river water and surface runoff, including spring snow melt, causes an outflow of surface water into the North Sea, a deeper counter current of denser salt water flows into the Baltic. The 9 countries bounding the Baltic are Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Russia, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland and Germany. The Vistula and the Oder are among the major rivers which drain their waters into the Baltic Sea. So the Vistula and the Oder. Oder basically in the German or in the other terms or in the Spanish it is known as Oder. So these are the countries that are sharing the Baltic Sea region and these are the rivers. So that was about the Nord Stream gas pipeline with a little reference of Baltic Sea since it was there making this part. Now this is important again. Why was Nusantara in news? Nusantara is basically a newly proposed capital site for Indonesia. Right now the capital is Jakarta, which is actually overly populated. Infrastructure is under immense pressure and the provisions of smart cities are lacking. Hence, the biggest and important reason for shifting the capital is that this land mass of this island, which is basically a coastal region, is sinking continuously under the sea. Hence, this is the new site. So Indonesia's parliament recently passed a law approving the relocation of its capital from slowly sinking Jakarta to a site 2,000 kilometers away on the jungle-clad Borneo Islands, Indonesian part of Borneo, that will be named Nusantara. Jakarta has long been plagued by serious infrastructure problems and flooding exacerbated by climate change. This island of Borneo, this is Brunei, this Borneo. So in this region, basically, it is trying to build up a new capital. Alright. Now, Borneo is an island in the extreme southwestern part of the Pacific Ocean. It is the third largest island in the world after Greenland and New Guinea. It is also the largest island of Asia. Borneo. It is the largest island of Asia. Important. Could be asked in your prelims. Largest island, Asia. The island is bisected by the equator with approximately half of its land area in the northern hemisphere and half in the southern hemisphere. The island is divided between three countries: Indonesia 73%, Malaysia 26%, and Brunei 1%. So do not get confused between Borneo and Brunei. Borneo is an island divided and controlled by three nations, whereas Brunei is itself a sovereign state. Right? So this is the difference. Now, next we have is Global Cybersecurity Outlook 2022. The accelerating pace of digitalization fueled by the COVID-19 pandemic has led to a record-breaking year for cybercrime, with ransomware attacks rising 151% in 2021, found by the World Economic Forum's Global Cybersecurity Outlook. This report's name is important. You have to keep in mind that this Global Security Outlook is released by World Economic Forum, and that has talked about the issue of cyber security in the world. Now, released during its online Davos Agenda Summit, the WEF said the global digital economy had surged on the back of the COVID-19 pandemic because stay home, stay safe. Stay home and work from home has increased the participation of people who are becoming direct or indirect members of the digital world. Internet connectivity, virtual connections, virtual world. We're starting from communication to banking to entertainment to interaction to business and trade, etc., is dot to dot through a virtual medium, and this virtual medium has the potential to attract many cyber security threats and issues in the form of spywares, malwares, trojans, and other related viruses or cybercrime issues. Major reports published by the WEF are Global Competitiveness Report, important, asked in UPSC, Global Risk Report, Global Gender Gap. This is important because sometimes the major contender here in place of World Economic Forum is World Bank. That actually confused that whether it is releasing the report, but no, it is not releasing the report. Global Social Mobility Report, Regional Risk for Doing Business Report, Travel and Tourism Competitiveness Report, and the Global Cybersecurity Outlook. Fostering Effective Energy Transition Report, WF, has been discussed in detail in the 18 January 2022 file. So you just have to go back and look into it. We have already covered it. So this is about the report. Now, we have this next topic which is related to the capital punishment. The context, let me just tell you that during the 90s and early years of 90s, two females who were involved in child trafficking, that they used to kidnap the little children, and out of 13 children did they kidnap, they killed almost 11. They murdered them. So during 2000 and 2001, one court has decided their punishment, and they said that these women must be hanged till death. So that means the capital punishment was given. From 2000, after that, from 2005 onwards, their mercy petition process was started, and when first it was rejected, let's say at state level by at governor's office, then at presidential level at a different office, and then at Supreme Court and whatsoever. So finally, this capital punishment of hanging till death is basically commuted to life imprisonment. Why? On the pretext of delay. This delay of around 10 to 15 years has made the court said that this is basically a violation of their fundamental rights, that every day you are just sleeping and waking up under the fear that today your orders will come and you have to be hanged in the very next moment of your life. And in this manner, if you have to remain for this period, for such a long period, then it is basically a failure of state, that rather they should have given justice to you by hanging you at the right point, or they should have decided your petition. Whether they have commuted it or not, that was a different issue. So this is how this entire thing going, and let's discuss that what is this involving. Capital punishment in India. The Bombay High Court commuted the death sentence of two sisters for murdering and kidnapping children between 1990 to 96 in Kolhapur to life imprisonment. Why? After 7 years, 10 months and 15 days, their mercy petition was rejected. They pleaded that the delay in disposal of their mercy petition resulted in infringement of their fundamental rights. Here one counter argument that you are talking about your fundamental rights. Then what about the fundamental rights of those who were killed by you and they were children? And therefore, their death sentence should be commuted to life imprisonment. The mercy petition filed with the governor of Maharashtra was rejected in 2013. The application to president rejected in 2014. Thereafter, the present writ petition has been filed, and that took almost 7 years. This present writ took 7 odd years to decide the mercy petition. Now, stages in death sentence cases, what is that? First is trial court. It has to give special reasons justifying awarding death penalty. Then it is actually backed by the higher court, high court. It has to confirm the death penalty, because alone they do not have the just power. They can award it, but execution need the backing from a higher court. So it has to confirm the death penalty before the convicts can be hanged. Supreme Court convicts has a right to appeal against the High Court verdict before the apex court. This is the general convention. Supreme Court, after the dismissal of the appeal, the convict can file a review petition. Yes, true. Then after review petition gets dismissed, the convict can file a curative petition for the cure of there is any problem in the review. Just keep this in mind that the life is precious according to the Constitution of India. No matter the heinous nature of your crime, but the law states the nature of our judicial system is very reformative in nature, not punitive in nature. We believe in the reform of the person. We believe that is there any way that we can save upon the life of a person? Because if we wanted to work like the Arabian countries or the other countries like Iran or China, then at the first instance only where the death penalty was awarded first, the person was hanged or would be hanged till then and there only. But what is the reason that at Supreme Court it is the appeal against the High Court, then it is the review, and then it is the curative petition. It is basically a paradigm where the court wants to ensure that all the grounds have been successfully discussed, analyzed, and there are no grounds left which actually let the people remain alive or can be commuted in nature. Otherwise, they will be given death. President, after Supreme Court is over, President convict can file mercy petition, and then Supreme Court convict can challenge President's decision of dismissal of mercy petition before the Supreme Court, because they believe that sometimes human error can also be there. Generally, it comes once the delay has been very long. Now, capital punishment of the death penalty is a legal process whereby a person is put to death by the state as a punishment for a crime. How this evolution has done? No issue was raised about capital punishment in the British India's Legislative Assembly until 1931, when one of the members from Bihar, Shri Gaya Prasad Singh, sought to introduce a bill to abolish the punishment of death for the offence under the Indian Penal Code. This is important for your prelims, because this question is sort of your polity question, current affairs, and your history question. That Gaya Prasad Singh, he introduced this first bill to abolish the punishment. However, the motion was negatived after the then Home Minister replied to the motion. It was not adopted, but anyways, he proposed it. 1947, India retained the 1861 Indian Penal Code, which provided for the death penalty for murder. It was given by Lord Macaulay in India. In the Bachchan Singh judgment of 1980, the Supreme Court ruled that the death penalty should be used only in the rarest of rare cases. But what defines rarest of the rare is not clear. So it is basically the heinous nature of crime that decides the death penalty. And sometimes it is the media trial, sometimes it is the public sentiment like in Nirbhaya cases and other things. So it is that. Constitutionality of the death sentence. The main provisions of the Constitution of India guaranteeing the right to life under Article 21 have been lifted from the American and the Japanese Constitution. It may be added here that what we have borrowed is the form or style of expression and not the right itself. It is just the expression, not the right in whole form. The right to life is not something that constitutions create or even confer. The Constitution only recognizes this inalienable and indispensable right. Machi Singh and others versus State of Punjab, the apex court laid down 3 conditions for imposition of death. What is rarest of rare case? Number 1, when there is something uncommon about the crime that renders life imprisonment as an inadequate sentence, like Nirbhaya case. Like Dhananjay Kumar or Dhananjay Chatterjee, when he killed one girl named Hital in Mumbai, when he was working as a guard. So the Alipur, where this execution took place. Whether the circumstances of the crime are such that there is seen no alternative but to impose death sentence even after maximum weightage is given to any mitigating factor. So here the maximum mitigating factors are being discussed at 3 levels. Once it is also crossed, then death penalty is assured. Constitutional powers of the president and the governor in matters relating to death, you can just give it a reading so that you can understand, because it is more of a reading sort, nothing to explain here. What are international conventions? The International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights does not abolish the use of the death penalty but contains guarantees regarding the right to life and contains important safeguards to be followed by signatories who retain the death penalty. The rights of the child explicitly prohibits the use of the death penalty against persons under the age of 18. The Convention Against Torture and Cruel, Inhuman or Degrading Treatment or Punishment, the Torture Convention, does not regard the imposition of death penalty per se as a form of torture or cruel, inhuman or degrading treatment. Understandable thing. Of the treaties mentioned above, India has ratified the ICCPR and CRC and is signatory to the Torture Convention but has not ratified it. Ratification once it is adopted in the local law institution like Parliament. Under international law, treaty obligations are binding on states once they have ratified the treaty. Even where a treaty has been signed but not ratified, the state is bound to refrain from acts which would defeat the object and purposes of a treaty. So this is basically a formal term which has letter and spirit. The Law Commission of India in its 262nd report recommended that death penalty be abolished for all crimes other than terrorism related offences and waging war, but they just recommended it. They have no binding authority. Capital offence in IPC, there are capital offences in other laws as well. Treason, for waging war against the government of India, because it is absolutely against the solidarity and unity of the country. Solidarity and unity of the country. Abetment of mutiny actually committed against the forces. This is again bringing the country in a danger. Perjury resulting in the conviction and death of an innocent person, like bomb blast. Suicidal attacks, or let's say bombers. What do you say? The suicide bombers. Threatening or inducing any person to give false evidence resulting in the conviction and death of an innocent person. Abetment of a suicide by a minor, insane person or intoxicated person. Abetment is basically like promoting those or creating those atmosphere or environment or those circumstances where the person has to take his own life. That is called the abetment of suicide. Attempted murder by serving life convict. Kidnapping, rape and injury. Let's say, what are the execution methods followed in India? There are two methods of execution in India. They are hanging. All the death penalties in India are carried out by hanging. Shooting, it is also provided in the Air Force Act, Army Act and Navy Act that the execution has to be carried out either by hanging by neck till death or being shot to death. So this is basically a defense related execution. But in all the cases of civilian nature, the hanging is carried out. Let's say on 20th March 2020, just before the Janata curfew was implemented or declared, the 3 convicts or were like from Nirbhaya case, they were hanged till death at Tihar jail right at 5:35 a.m. in the morning. If I'm not mistaken, around 5 o'clock in the morning they were executed, because it was a time given around this time. So this is about the capital punishment in the country, and there are some 3 conventions and the international orders, so which we have to keep in mind while we are writing the answer. And our answer in this manner must be a balanced one, where we are, if we are supporting the arguments against capital punishment, then at the same time we have to look at the nature of crime, and if not capital punishment, what alternative are we taking here in this case? Because ultimately we have to stick to the rules of fundamental rights in the country, to the reformative nature of punishments in the country, not punitive nature, and what is the spirit of preamble says about the life of human, and how we put respect to the life of the people, and that life of people, if it is in danger, then how we are going to treat the things that are bringing those situations. So our answer has to be balanced, rational and fact driven, that are we supporting capital punishment, are we not supporting? So it should not be your individual perspective, rather based on the studies and facts gathered from different areas and scope of study, like Law Commission, like the Constitution of India, like the other practices, international practices or international appeals and whatsoever. So this was about this entire video. Thank you so much.